Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's tutorial we're gonna make a foam for the water. Also come and join our Discord server, you have invite link in the description. Okay, so let's get started. Now there are a few different ways how we can do this foam for the water. One of those ways is with the use of distance fields. So let's go to the edit, project settings and search for distance fields. And here enable generate mesh distance fields and restart the engine. Distance fields will generate distances to the nearest surface of the mesh. To visualize it, you can go to the show, visualize and mesh distance fields. And you can see that we get this information around the mesh. Now we're gonna select this plane and move it to the viewport. And this is going to be our mesh for the water. So let's just scale it up. Now let's create a material, also create a material instance and plug it to the plane. Let's open the material and search for distance to the nearest surface node. With the distance to the nearest surface node, we will get those distances to the nearest surface of the mesh. This node is pretty much what it says. And if we plug this into the base color, and as you can see nothing happened, and that is because this node is applying itself only 1 unit away from the mesh. So we will go and divide it by the constant. And if we now go to our material instance, we can change the distance. Basically this will create this black and white mask around the mesh. We want the mask to be inverted, so the white color is around the mesh, so we will just go to the material and search for 1- node. And this is pretty much it if you want your foam to be basic like that. Also, I don't have the foam around the landscape, and you can disable it by clicking your mesh or your landscape and searching for distance fields. And here, affect distance fields lighting, you can just disable it. Okay, so if you want to have just simple lines like this, you can just leave these nodes or work with them more to get something you want. But I want to use textures, so let's do that now. I'm gonna delete these nodes and I'm gonna take these nodes and I'm gonna explain to you how this works. Okay, so distance field gradient is taking the direction of the distance field, and if we just divide it and plug it to the UVs of the texture, you can see that we get this texture stretching into the mesh. And to fix this, we're gonna use a vector to radial value. And the vector to radial value will just wrap the UVs around. And as you can see, it's wrapping around, but the texture is quite weird. And here is when we can combine the distance to nearest surface with it. And all we're gonna do is divide it like in the first example to control the distance, and then combine it with the append node. Now if you would want to scale it, you can see that it is gonna make this seam, and there is some values where it works like 0.25, 0.5 or 1. But then it's just get weird if you want to scale it more up. And to fix that, you can just use scale UVs by center function like that. Okay, so I guess you don't want your foam that big, so we can mask it out using radial gradient exponential. This is basically gradient that comes from the center to out. With the density we can control the density, and with the radius we can control radius. And also we're gonna plug distance to nearest surface to the UVs, because we want the gradient to be applied around the mesh. To make it moving, we will take the time node, multiply it with a constant to control the speed, and just add it with the distance to nearest surface. It's moving backwards, but if you just put it in the minus value, it will go out, not in. And if you want to move the foam sideways around the mesh, you can add it the same time with the distance field gradient. And to make this look more interesting, we can add one more texture and add them together. Also, to get rid of this sharp line, we're gonna need to go to our texture and change the MIP value to MIP level. Okay, so now I will show you how to make this texture in Photoshop. So let's fill this with the black color. Then create a new layer and start painting waves with a soft brush. Okay, now let's go to the filter, distort and select wave. Play with these settings until you get something like this. Then go to the filter again and select other and offset. And in the horizontal, type the half of the resolution of the texture you are using and select wrap around. Now just paint it together. And erase the artifacts around it. Now let's create one more texture like this. Now let's merge these two layers together. Then go to the first texture and go to the channels. Select one channel, for example green. Then go to the second texture, select it all, Ctrl C. Then go to the first texture, select it all and Ctrl V. Okay, so now we have these two textures packed in one. Now if we take this texture into the Unreal Engine and into our material, this texture is going to look soft like this. So we'll use cheap contrast to make it sharp. Okay, so this is it for this tutorial and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.